Greetings, everyone. I'm joining you from Isdal House, BirdLife South Africa's head office in Dunkeld, West Johannesburg. We're especially proud of our office, and in particular, its massive indigenous garden, which is water-wise and bird-friendly. It attracts a host of different bird species and other biodiversity. Sometimes I sit in my office and hear the call of the tawny-flanked prinia, and we can even watch the antics of southern masked weavers and thick-billed weavers going about their business from our boardroom. Some of you may not be too familiar with the history of BirdLife South Africa. We were formed in 1905, initially called the South African Ornithologists Union. We became the Southern African Ornithological Society in the 1930s, and then BirdLife South Africa in 1996. Initial work was the study of birds, ornithology, but it's only in the latter years that we've been responsible and focused our efforts on the conservation of South Africa's, in fact, even the region's birds. We're also a membership-based organization. Our members not only contribute to the important conservation work that we do, but they also receive 6 issues per annum of our amazing magazine, African BirdLife, which we believe, and many others do, as one of the world's top bird and birding magazine. We're especially proud of some of our achievements, from the training of community bird guides, many of whom make a living from bird guiding today, to the work that we've done to save albatrosses and many other bird species. The future of our birds, to a large extent, is dependent on BirdLife South Africa being successful. There's a lot to do, and we'd like to ensure that birds are around for future generations to enjoy. We're very grateful for the support we receive from our members, affiliated bird clubs, our board members, our volunteers, of course, our staff, our collaborators, and in particular, our donors. I'd like to thank you all for helping us give conservation wings.
Mice were accidentally introduced to Marion Islands some 200 years ago in the early 1800s, and for many years the mice were known to have an impact on the terrestrial invertebrates and vegetation of the island and were undermining many of the ecological processes. And relatively recently, in the early 2000s, it became apparent that the mice had now resorted to starting to kill seabird chicks and eggs, and this has increased in intensity and frequency and scale to the extent that mice are now considered to be a major threat to the future of the seabird populations on Marion Island. And this is exacerbated by impacts of climate change, because as the climate has become warmer and drier, these are more favorable conditions for mice, which have led to a longer breeding season and increased densities of mice, which have led to further reductions in the invertebrate prey resource and them resorting increasingly to feeding on seabirds, eggs and chicks. And research on Marion has shown that the majority, probably 18 of the 28 species of seabirds that breed on Marion Island, are likely to face local extinction if the mice are not removed. So it's really important that we remove those mice from Marion Island, and the only way that we are able to do so is by applying a rodenticide bait to the island. And given the size of the island, the only technique that we can use to do that is to apply that bait aerially by means of helicopters. So there have been many operations that have preceded ours that have done this at both a smaller scale and a larger scale, and these operations have provided us with insights and lessons and experience that we can use to plan the operation for Marion Island. It is a challenging operation because the island is large, it's remote. The operation will be done during a time when the weather conditions are very inclement, but we know that it can be done. A feasibility study has demonstrated that this is technically feasible. A number of risks have been identified that we have identified and we are planning to mitigate. So we have every confidence that we can succeed in this very important operation. Because of the logistics involved, it's very costly to undertake an operation like this. It's a once-off operation, so although it requires a fairly large initial investment, the rewards are massive, and the rewards are essentially rewards that last in perpetuity. So we would urge all people that are interested in the future of Marion Island and the conservation of its seabirds to help support the project. We're aiming to undertake the baiting operation in 2024, But in order to do that, we need to raise a significant amount of funds, and we'd be very grateful if you could visit our website on www.mousefreemarion.org and consider sponsoring a hectare or more towards this important cause. It really will make a huge difference to this really important island and the remarkable seabirds that call it home.
Hi, my name is Andrea Angel, and I manage the South African Albatross Task Force team in Cape Town. I have worked on seabird conservation-related projects since 2003, including spending considerable time on remote islands around the world, such as Marion, and an incredible year on Gough Island, working on the research and management of invasive species that threaten seabird survival. The main objective of the Albatross Task Force is to mitigate at-sea threats to seabirds through research and the development of innovative mitigation measures, as well as ensuring compliance with legislation. We are the only team in South Africa working directly with fisheries to mitigate the threat to thousands of seabirds that forage in our oceans from accidentally getting caught and dying in fishing gear. And so far, while there is still much work to do, we have succeeded by preventing the deaths of over 10,000 seabirds annually, which for me is a tremendous source of motivation and drive to keep working towards ensuring that all South African fishing fleets implement best practice mitigation and sustainable fishing methods. I'm happiest doing field work, preferably surrounded by seabirds, and working on projects that address conservation challenges in a holistic manner. Thank you.
Good day, good people. This is Reason Nyengera. I work in the Albatross Task Force as a project manager. My role at BirdLife is to work with the fishermen in trying to reduce seabird bycatch. So what makes my work exciting is because we work from the grassroots with the fishermen on the deck and then try to find solution and troubleshoot the challenges which they are facing in trying to reduce the killing of birds during their fishing operation. So it's a long-term relationship which we are building with the fishermen in trying to improve their ways of fishing to mitigate for seabird bycatch.
My name is Tegan Carpenter-Kling, and I'm the Coastal Seabird Project Manager at BirdLife South Africa. I'm based in Cape Town, however most of my work is within the penguin colonies along the coast of South Africa, all the way from Grassland Island on the west coast through to Bird Island in Algoa Bay. So basically what I do is I track penguins, gannets and cormorants in and outside of the breeding season, and this work is very important because most of the threats the birds face is at sea. However, it's very difficult to observe birds at sea. Thus, we're using very high-tech biologgers that track them both horizontally by GPS and vertically with accelerometers and depth sensors. My biggest success to date is having these data incorporated into the marine spatial planning initiatives within the South African government and having the birds' distributions represented within the next round of marine protected area expansion. I absolutely love what I do, and this is because I work as part of a very large collaboration between many organizations and individuals to help save the African penguin. There's many of us working towards improving the conservation status of this endangered seabird, and I am just a small clog in this machine.
My name is Alistair McInnes, and I'm the Seabird Conservation Program Manager at BirdLife South Africa. Apart from overseeing a very competent seabird team and the exciting projects that they are driving, I invest a lot of my time in African penguin conservation initiatives. Together with the coastal seabird team, we are working with government to minimize resource competition around important African penguin colonies. And we are also developing new tools to monitor the condition of African penguins in real time. We have recently initiated a seabird indicator project using African penguins as indicators of forage fish supplies, such as anchovy and sardine, near their colonies. So how do we do this? With the help of engineers and in collaboration with Sandcob, Cape Nature and Sandparks, we are developing and upgrading automated penguin monitoring systems at Stony Point and in colonies in Algoa Bay. Basically, an automated penguin monitoring system includes a sequence of scales, a pit tag reader, miniature processing unit, and a cell phone transmission system. As the penguins depart and return from foraging trips, the system identifies the bird if it has a pit tag, records its weight and time of departure and arrival. This information is transmitted daily and gives us an idea about the conditions they face out at sea. During the breeding season, penguins can eat up to 200 fish on a good day and gain or lose 20% of their body mass depending on prevailing conditions. They also face threats such as marine noise pollution, which is known to displace them from their foraging areas. It is hoped that these dynamic tools can facilitate effective adaptive management to mitigate threats to penguins more effectively, while also building awareness about the species' marine habitat.
I'm Christina Hagen, the Pamela Isdell Fellow of Penguin Conservation. I work here in the beautiful De Hoop Nature Reserve, where I'm trying to establish a new breeding colony of African penguins. This project is important for African penguin conservation because we're addressing one of the main threats that they face, which is a lack of food. By creating a colony at the De Hoop Nature Reserve, we're helping the penguins move into an area of higher fish abundance. I'm using penguin decoys and playing penguin calls to make it look and sound like there's already a colony at the site. I've also been working with Sandcob and Cape Nature to release juvenile African penguins at the site, and to date we've released over 140 penguins there. My biggest success on this project occurred just a few weeks ago when we found that a few adult penguins had come ashore at the colony and are hanging around. While we're not sure if they're going to start breeding there, it's a very positive sign. I love working on this project because I feel like I'm making a concrete and tangible difference to the conservation of an endangered species, and one that is unique to the African continent.
My name is Giselle Murison, and I'm BirdLife South Africa's Estuaries Conservation Project Manager in the Western Cape. Estuaries are one of South Africa's most valuable but vulnerable ecosystems. In the Western Cape, we have 4 of South Africa's top 10 most important estuaries for conservation, and all 4 have little or no formal protection. Estuaries are in fact South Africa's most threatened realm, in part due to their lack of protection. Working with government partners, we have identified 12 priority estuaries, and with the assistance of local stakeholders, are developing processes for the formal protection of these estuarine coastal waters. Primarily, we work at the Velenbrunk, Berg, Bot and Klein River estuaries, and currently we have just under 8,000 hectares of threatened estuarine and fynbos habitat being declared as protected areas under the Protected Areas Act. Our project is also involved in area maintenance and in the restoration of estuarine and fynbos habitats, so important to providing tangible benefits to landowners in the local community. The project co-funds a number of alien clearing teams, including training, with more than 11 kilometers of river cleared this last year. And we get involved in a great deal of awareness raising around the value of estuaries and their important bird life.
This is the fynbos, home to 9,000 species of plants, 7,000 of which are endemic. Nestled in the Cape Fold Mountains of South Africa and restricted entirely to this country. A very special biome, very special plants, very special birds, and beautiful scenery. What bird have you got, Delalio?
The orange-breasted sandwich.
Okay, and what are you measuring?
Thousands.
Hi, I'm Alan Lee, BirdLife South Africa's Science and Innovation Program Manager. BirdLife South Africa aligns with the BirdLife International Strategy adhering to the 3 strands that run through all BirdLife's programs: partnership, science, and action. Priorities and programs are based firmly on science, underpinned by the best available evidence. BirdLife takes practical action, working with and for people and nature. The Science and Innovation Program identifies research gaps, examines databases, and writes the peer-reviewed articles that will benefit the conservation of birds and their habitats. We maintain BirdLife South Africa's cross-cutting conservation modelling and ensure that the results of core habitat models are used to establish ecological resilient networks and take into account climate change. We oversee the management of BirdLife South Africa's datasets collected through monitoring and research throughout our programs. We help maintain the network of citizen scientists to record their sightings and vitally contribute to conservation, notably SABAP 2. We also update and publish the annual BirdLife South Africa checklist. We are currently undertaking a review of the red list to identify species of risk of extinction. And finally, we are tasked with finding innovative approaches to identify and solve challenging research and conservation problems. Thank you.
Campus Dam is a globally recognized important bird and biodiversity area, mostly because of the large number of water birds that call Campus Dam their home. It also hosts a large population of lesser flamingo and, although usually in smaller numbers, greater flamingo. At times, more than 50,000 lesser flamingos can be seen, a truly awesome sight. Recently, lesser flamingos also began to breed at Campus Dam, only one of a few sites in the world. However, the site faces many threats from housing developments, water pollution, and high water levels, mostly due to a dysfunctional water sewage works. To coordinate research and conservation activities at the site, BirdLife South Africa created a local conservation group. The group consists of local role players such as Ikapa Mining, Solplaatje Municipality consultants, and representatives of BirdLife South Africa. One of the projects of the LCG managers is an exciting initiative to count lesser flamingos using drone and satellite imagery. A paper about this project has recently been submitted for publication. We hope to improve on the first count attempts in the coming years, also expanding these counts to other sites in South Africa and even Africa. Another project we support is the AfriCam initiative. AfriCam installed a camera at the site and footage is broadcasted to the world. This is an exciting opportunity to tell the world about this beautiful site and its birds. Viewers already reported instances of possible poaching, and a bird stuck at a tree was successfully rescued by Esther van der Westhuizen Koetse. Videos of these rescue attempts were published widely in social media. So please, when next time you drive past Campus Dam, please spare a thought for this really important site for the conservation of birds, and more specifically for the conservation of lesser flamingo.
My name is Linda van den Heever. I'm the Vulture Project Manager at BirdLife South Africa. My position focuses mainly on 2 areas. First of all, it is the implementation of vulture safe zones. And secondly, I'm also doing a lot of research on the impacts of lead poisoning in our vulture species. I work all over South Africa, everywhere where vultures occur, but my main areas of focus have been Zululand, where we established the Zululand Vulture Safe Zone a couple of years ago, and then also in the Northern Cape, where I've done a lot of research at Dronfield Nature Reserve, just outside Kimberley, where one of the most important white-back vulture breeding colonies in South Africa, or in the Northern Cape, is located. My biggest success to date, I'd say, would have been the establishment of some rather large vulture safe zones across South Africa. Zululand was one. It is an area that is rife with poison and all sorts of threats to vultures, and we managed to get 14 plus landowners who own about 200,000 hectares between them to do whatever they can to make sure that their vultures are safe. We also recently established the biggest vulture safe zone in southern Africa, up at Zanav National Park in Mozambique, it was also the first vulture safe zone in Mozambique, and we collaborated on that with the Peace Parks Foundation. On the lead side, I've done a lot of research on the impact of lead poisoning in vultures, and one of my most important papers, I'd say, was to show conclusively using lead isotopes, and highly innovative research that I did with the University of the Witwatersrand and the University of Johannesburg to show that lead ammunition is in fact the main source of lead poisoning in South Africa's vultures. Why do I love what I do? I love what I do because I travel a lot. For me, that is very important. I don't like to sit in an office. But then also, when BirdLife South Africa first asked me to start working on vultures, I just absolutely fell in love with them. And they are not a species that is very endearing to people. They're not very nice to look at, but they are the cornerstone species of our ecosystems, because they do what many species cannot, in that they remove rotting carcasses from the environment.
Hi, my name is Christian Velenbrunk, and I am the Raptor and Large Terrestrial Bird Project Manager at BirdLife South Africa. My job entails managing a portfolio of species conservation projects, including projects on tiger falcons, black harriers, seven-banded snake eagles, and most notably, secretary birds. We have increasingly come to realize that in order to stop the march towards extinction, we need to secure land under private ownership as viable habitat for these species.
Hello, welcome to the grasslands of South Africa. My name is Melissa Whitecross and I'm the Landscape Conservation Program Manager at BirdLife South Africa. My incredible team of conservationists in the Protecting Ecosystems workstream are working extremely hard to be able to conserve the wonderful grasslands of South Africa. These grasslands are undoubtedly one of South Africa's most threatened biomes, and that was confirmed in the National Biodiversity Assessment of 2018, which showed that less than 10% of this biome is conserved in South Africa, and it makes up almost a third of our country. So we certainly are losing out on these incredibly rich, endemic and beautiful ecosystems, and we're working hard with things like biodiversity stewardship to make sure that we can conserve them. We're going to now take you through some of our amazing grassland projects, and we hope you'll see the value in protecting these wonderful open spaces and the wonderful birds that live in them.
Hello, my name is Carl Lloyd and I am the Rock Jumper Fellow of White-winged Flufftail Conservation. I live in Dalstrom, which is situated in the Steenkampsberg of Mpumalanga province. My work involves researching and conserving wetlands as well as water birds, specifically the critically endangered white-winged flufftail. It's important that we conserve wetlands not only for the white-winged flufftail, but also for the ecosystem services that they provide to society, such as water storage and purification. Our biggest success since I started at BirdLife South Africa has been the declaration of Middelpunt Nature Reserve, which is the only confirmed breeding site of the white-winged flufftail in South Africa. I've considered an honour and a privilege to conserve the white-winged flufftail, one of Africa's rarest and most threatened birds, and I also find the research very fascinating given its cryptic behaviour. BirdLife South Africa is hoping to work with the community that surrounds Insekeni Nature Reserve in southern KwaZulu-Natal province. At Insekeni Nature Reserve there is a vast wetland system that is inhabited by the critically endangered white-winged flufftail. The white-winged flufftail is listed under the African Eurasian Migratory Waterbird Agreement as a bird that needs special attention to prevent it from going extinct in the wild.
We need to work with the community that surrounds Insekeni Nature Reserve to rehabilitate and restore the processes that maintain the wetland habitat that is used by the critically endangered white-winged flufftail. But more importantly, we need to conserve the ecosystem services that people derive from the wetland itself.
The Liaison Forum has defined objectives. One, to make sure that the nature that we have here at Insekeni Nature Reserve is continuously conserved and it benefits the community, and also our behavior reflects that we have enormous understanding of nature. So that is our objective, to make sure that we serve the interests of the entire community as the beneficiaries in the nature reserve. If we can prioritize on the issues of projects around here, not projects precisely to benefit community only, but the projects that will reflect the benefit of nature conservation also. Just because we have this wetland, we need this wetland to continue be on the status that it has right now. We also engage the NGOs, the department, and us as the community fruitfully. I should think that one can take us furthermore.
Some of the potential projects at Insekeni Nature Reserve include the removal of invasive black wattle, rehabilitating erosion gullies, developing ecotourism, and renovating the community lodge.
Hi, I'm Karina Pinaar, BirdLife South Africa's Ingula and Grasslands Conservation Project Manager, working in the high-altitude grasslands of the Eastern Free State between Harrismith and Meermal. My biggest success was declaring the Upper Vulture protected environment at the beginning of 2022. 24,000 hectares of grassland and wetland ecosystems near Harrismith, important for its many threatened bird species and the important water catchment for South Africa. I absolutely love the grasslands, its biodiversity and its people, and am passionate about finding a way to protect the natural integrity of the grasslands for its water biodiversity and agricultural value. I want to ensure that the grasslands retain their splendor and rich biodiversity, and that agriculture and land use in the grasslands remain sustainable for future generations.
Marston Payton. I'm BirdLife South Africa's Birds and Renewable Energy Project Manager. I support the nature-friendly rollout of renewable energy. This role is really important because renewable energy is an essential part of our future. We need wind and solar energy. We've got to move away from our very unhealthy reliance on coal. But unfortunately, wind energy and to a lesser extent solar energy can have negative impacts on biodiversity, and we can't afford to just develop without considering these impacts. Unmitigated wind energy, for example, can present a very real and significant threat to some of our threatened raptor species, even driving them closer to extinction. And so we need to find a way forward. We need to find ways where we can have both, where we can have renewable energy in the right place and have space for our biodiversity at the same time. The thing I love the most about my job is that it's never boring and it's always challenging, and we really do have an opportunity to make a significant difference to our future. I think our biggest achievement to date has been that we've become a reliable and a recognized source of rational, evidence-based advice to both industry, government and other stakeholders.
Hi everyone, my name's Melissa Lewis and I'm the Policy and Advocacy Program Manager at BirdLife South Africa, and my work involves trying to ensure that conservation objectives are properly integrated into law and policy making and government decision making in South Africa, other African countries and at the international level. And this is important in ensuring that our birds and their habitats are properly safeguarded and that conservation interventions are supported by and even required by a robust law and policy framework. One of our program's most significant achievements to date has been a collaboration with the South African National Biodiversity Institute and several species specialists to produce a species environmental assessment guideline, essentially aimed at elevating the standard of specialist reports in environmental impact assessments. And use of that guideline is now required by law. We're now starting to look towards developing a training program, and we're also working on supplementing it with a new dedicated guideline specifically on the mitigation hierarchy in EIA practice. What I enjoy most about my work is the opportunity to work with such a wide and diverse collection of stakeholders from government and other organizations, all in the shared pursuit of nature conservation.
Good day, everyone. I'm Simeon Bezeng. I'm the Regional Conservation Program Manager at BirdLife South Africa. And I work primarily across several African countries to support them build capacity to use tools that have been mobilized globally to identify important areas for biodiversity. Why this work is important is really because although all wild places on Earth are important when it comes to the diversity of life on Earth, not all wild places are equal. There are some wild places in the terrestrial, marine, and freshwater realms that are unique in the diversity of species they harbor. For example, some places provide critical habitat for unique species that the destruction of their micro or macro habitat will rapidly drive these species to extinction. Additionally, other places provide fully functional ecosystems with all species complementarity that are vital for supporting life on Earth. These places are called key biodiversity areas, and these places ensure biodiversity persists on Earth and continues to provide food, medicine, in general, ecosystem services that life on Earth depends on. The biggest success so far is that we've been able to train more than 100 conservationists in Africa on tools that are used to identify important places for biodiversity. These conservationists are now using these tools to identify species and habitats of conservation concern and working with local stakeholders to ensure the species and the habitat persist for the continuous benefit of humanity. I really enjoy what I do because it exposes me to many conservation challenges that African countries face, and working collaboratively to support local government achieve and find solutions to both biodiversity and development outcome, which is extremely important.
Hi, I'm Bronwyn Marie, and I'm the East Atlantic Flyway Initiative Project Manager. My work focuses on protecting and conserving migratory birds and their habitats at the tail end of this flyway, specifically focusing on South Africa, Namibia, Angola, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Each year, millions of shorebirds and landbirds migrate from their northern breeding grounds in Eurasia to wintering areas in Western and Southern Africa along the East Atlantic Flyway. Many of these birds travel thousands of kilometers along the flyway and rely on a series of high-quality coastal and inland sites as stopover points to feed and rest. Many of these coastal and inland terrestrial stopover sites are also important for humans by providing resources, livelihoods, and economic development. Unfortunately, many of the bird populations in this flyway are in decline due to numerous threats. Birds do not recognize international boundaries, making it imperative that conservation measures are implemented along the entire flyway to secure a network of sites necessary for the protection of these migratory birds. A major success for me has been the collaboration and joint development of regional action plans encompassing the 6 countries previously mentioned. These plans outline key priorities for the next 3 years to ensure we make positive strides to better understand and protect our migrant birds in the region. I find my work challenging and fulfilling, and I enjoy networking across many countries and with numerous organizations and individuals for a common cause. Being an endurance sports person myself, I understand what it takes to do long-distance events and the impact that one out-of-place piece of the puzzle can have on an event, such as the lack of nutrition. This is the same for our migrant birds that rely on a safe passage using the highways of our skies.
Hello and welcome. I am Christy Garland, Centre Manager of the BirdLife South Africa Bucketshrimp Tourism and Education Centre. We're located in the southern pocket of Mpumalanga, just about on the KZN border. At the centre, we offer self-catering accommodation as well as guided bird tours with our community bird guides. Our centre staff are additionally involved in environmental education and support approximately 35 schools and 3 junior bird clubs. Our activities and programs open the amazing world of birds and birding to learners, as well as support teachers in implementing birds, conservation, and localized action taking into the curriculum. Our guiding philosophy is from the head to the heart and hand, learning, caring, and taking action, all for our country's avian heritage. The Junior Bird Clubs is one of our proudest achievements, watching a child pick up a pair of binoculars in the field and being able to identify the birds they see. This is the most warmest and heartfelt moment. This is also what keeps us motivated in reconnecting our future leaders to the natural world, and for all of us to make a change in the way our lifestyles impact on the world around us.
My name is Nandi Tovela. I'm the Empowering People Program Manager at BirdLife South Africa, based at the Esther House in Johannesburg. The work that we do is environmental education and awareness. It is important because it is knowledge work that reaches the young generations, which are the future generations for tomorrow. And with this work, we hope to bring our young kids closer to nature and to give them a more richer understanding of conservation and biodiversity.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrew de Block. I'm the Heavy Tourism Project Manager here at BirdLife South Africa. Here today to tell you a little bit about the new Go Birding platform which we've just launched. If you want to go and play around on the integrated map which I'm about to show you, all you have to do is head over to www.gobirding.co.za or www.gobirding.birdlife.org.za, and that'll land you on this web page. Here's a little bit of an intro to the project, but really what you want to get into, if you scroll down just a little bit, is this incredible map which has been set up. Now on this map, each of these blue pins indicates a birding site, the green pins are accommodations, and the orange pins are our local community bird guides. There are over 400 birding sites, 70 accommodations, and 50 guides all with their own information and web page. Now, this is a freely accessible tool. Anyone from South Africa or visiting South Africa is very welcome to use this to plan their birding trips. In fact, that is the whole point of this project. And perhaps I'll give you a quick demonstration of how this might work for someone visiting South Africa for the first time. Perhaps you are coming here for work and you have a conference in Cape Town and you want to do a little bit of birding while you're in another city. Well, you can scroll in here to the area around Cape Town and you'll see there are a number of possible areas to go birding. For instance, the beautiful Bosch Botanical Gardens, or if you scroll down the peninsula, perhaps the world-renowned Strandfontein sewage works. Yes, sewage works are popular birding sites. And then down here, I can show you this one. Perhaps you stumble across the Boulders Beach birding site, which, as this description will show you, is one of the best places to see African penguins in the wild. Now, if you click on this link here, it'll take you away to a dedicated web page where it'll show you a gallery of photographs, who the management authorities are, what are some of the key species to look out for, and contact details. And then there are different sections down here about what is the best way to go about birding at the site, some information about the birding site, such as the history, and then other related information. So what are the directions? Are there any tariffs at the gate, etc., etc. So very detailed, user-friendly, built by birders for birders, for everyone to use. So we're very, very excited here at BirdLife South Africa about the potential of this site to ignite and catalyze the agritourism economy here in South Africa. And we can't wait for you to try out this new platform. And please do share with us any comments or feedback that you might have. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the fair.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannelien Smith-Robinson, the Head of Conservation at BirdLife South Africa. I'm based at our head office in Johannesburg at Easterhouse, but today I have the absolute privilege to be here with the team in the field. We're at Isimangalisa Wetland Park near Sodwana. So we've taken you on an incredible journey of conservation, starting at the Prince Edward Islands, moving to the coastline of South Africa, and then inland through the different biomes. So the focus of our 6 conservation programs is to conserve threatened birds and sites important to those species. Since 2013, we've added more than 200,000 hectares to the conservation estate in South Africa through working with private landowners through biodiversity stewardship. We also work outside the borders of our country, specifically supporting BirdLife partners and other conservation organizations in Southern Africa and further afield the continent. Conservation cannot be successful without collaborations. We partner and we support the national government, provincial conservation organizations, we also partner with tertiary institutions such as the Fitzpatrick Institute of African Ornithology and other like-minded conservation organizations. We also work with and we empower people. And one of our most world-acclaimed programs is our Community Bird Guide project. Today I have Temba here with me in the field, one of our bird guides. And then we also have livelihood projects and we do education work. And this is to ensure that our conservation projects are successful and inclusive of communities. We'd like to say thank you to all the support of our donors, and we'd like to invite you to come and work with us, BirdLife South Africa. Thank you.